that
Yeah,
to the table.
yeah. So it's saying it's preparing to stream live, setting up YouTube live, and I'll have to fill in all the details later. But like, um, is are we live? Indy, is it saying we're live? Is it
It says
saying?
this meeting is being live streamed.
Okay, let me record it. And do you need to record it? You guys need to record. So like,
Yeah, I have to send a request to you.
okay, I hit it. And Danny, if you want to record too, it's up to you.
So we're
Um,
live now. You always do this, Rob. Every time I watch your channel, you're like, we live, we live. It's like me, all fingers and thumbs. So
That's
I'll
his
be
that's
live.
his and
Yes or
that's his
no?
energy signature. That's how you know you're on Typical Skeptic podcast.
Oh my God.
well, I'll do a proper introduction. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. It's a day for bonds that come back together. Look, as you did you ever think you would see a podcast with me and Dani Henderson together? Well, it's happening. So that's amazing. But no, I have the amazing my good friend Indigo Angel with me. We do a lot of shows together. We've interviewed Gene Decode in the past, and we've interviewed Carrie Cassidy together. Now we're going to interview Dani today, and we're going to be getting into a lot of interesting stuff today. And Dani is amazing. She's the author of the book Angels, Demons, and Aliens Investigations. She's also the creator of the Galactic Spiritual Informers Conference, which I've heard they had UFO sightings over it the one year. It's the one of the world's most powerful gatherings for truth seekers, experiencers, disclosure. And she also has a YouTube channel where she shares her ideas. She interviews people like me, and she has over 58,000 subscribers. So she's a force to be reckoned with. And I'm really happy to have her here today. And Dani, yeah, thank you so much for coming back on. And it's good to see you. How are you?
I'm good, darling. Thank you for asking me. You just asked me a couple of days ago, and I'm like, yeah, we haven't been on together since 2022, right before my very first GISIC, Galactic Spiritual Informers Connection, where you very kindly invited me. I think at that time you had a bigger channel than me, and we had a great chat. We had a real laugh, and I was in Sarasota. I was living there at the time, and it was just such good fun. And the first GISIC. They've all been brilliant. We've had UFOs or spacecraft or drone craft, whatever you want to call it, come to every single GISIC. No one owns that. The best one was 2024 when there was a planned flyover, which is very different to a sky watch. So at GISIC, we have a sky watch every single year. We've had two GISICs this year, one in England in May, one in North Carolina September. That there was sabotage on the North Carolina one happening this year, and that's all right. That happens, but then you just get to weed the chaff away. You get to make different decisions and move people along there. But the thing is, coming up in September of this year. We'll be doing a beautiful beach gathering because it's in Eastbourne, East Sussex, England. We'll be at the beach. We'll have sacred instruments. We'll get into more of a meditative state because a lot of what's been happening in this kind of disclosure world. I don't like to say movement, I don't, or the community, because we're all much bigger than that. When we put ourselves in those little words, it frames something energetically that's not cohesive with the bigger picture, which we're all part of. And coming up this year, of course, we know there's going to be so much more happening. Like the war is on the ground. We're in a spiritual war, and that's something I think a lot of people have missed. And I've got an issue with any single person on the planet. I don't care who you are, don't care what proof you've got, don't know how many spaceships and planets you've been to. If you're going to be an arsehole, you're going to be rude, you're going to be cruel, you're going to attack every single person that has a story, then, I'm not playing with you. Bye bye, move along there. You know, you come to a point in your world where you're looking at everything and you start to see certain behaviors and you go, oh, do I want to be part of that? But it's also, it sounds like I'm attacking a certain person. No, I'm having a go at a group of people, a posse of people, because we've got to be really strong on that. There's that saying, treat people as you want to be treated. Well, as a lot of people watching this now, I've been a bit of a witch over these years. I've been quite outspoken. I've had a little pop here and a pop there because I was told this person's evil, this person's, and then there comes a point where you have to take accountability for what you're going to allow yourself to be infiltrated with and what you're going to allow yourself to be programmed with. And I was saying to Indigo earlier before we started, look at me waffling off. See, press the start button and boom. We don't need to line up subjects. I just can't stop once I get going.
It's okay. I've been called, indigo girl, everything. So I roll with it.
All right, I'm going to stop talking for a minute because we've just gone off, like, woohoo! Speak
So
of Nick.
Well, no, I want to say I totally understand where you're coming from and the separating the wheat from the shaft and kind of, it's like you can be affiliated with these groups and these names and these legions and these federations and these, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's really kind of about what the individual person is doing in terms of their spiritual work and what they bring to the table in terms of service to humanity and how they are conducting themselves in these groups because it is hard when you get into these groups and you're at these events and you have people that are, bringing in these attacks and these low level dimensional, human like behaviors are not in their higher angelic soul body. And, so how do we put these events together and how do we actually make a difference in terms of our spiritual work? Because I mean, the leaders of these events can't be going around babysitting people and, cultivating this behavior. People have to already be, maturely evolved in a sense to actually participate in what's being provided.
I
Yeah.
agree.
And
Yeah.
this is what I've noticed.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
agree.
it's difficult.
Danny, I was going to ask you, you were just at the Basis conference. Well, what was your takeaway from that? I love Miles.
Oh, he's great. And again, so what I've been doing in my kind of massive wake up from earlier this year, well, actually the last 18 months have been very, very difficult because there was so much darkness and infiltration and kind of threats. And it's like if you as a person believe you have spirit guides, if you don't have the courage to fire them all, then that means that you're letting ego run your life. You're not thinking with your heart, you're not being true to yourself. And so it's got that way with people as well. You don't want to be attached to people that you think, oh God, but if I let you go, then that means I won't be part of this. You've got to have the courage to say, I don't want to be part of that. If that's how we behave, if that's how we are using and abusing people and doing things and targeting, you can stuff it. I am not part of that. This soul is not for sale. It never was. It never was. And I think as an individual being that's speaking now, with passion and love for all of humanity, we can be okay with the little dark 3D bits of us, the unhealed parts, the parts that attack and are outraged. And that's all right, as long as we recognize that we're being out of order. And then we can apologize, as I've done many, many times, especially over the last couple of months. I've been going around individually saying, I'm sorry I was a witch. I'm sorry I was out of order to you. I think it takes courage to do that. And I'm happy with myself, and I don't need anyone else's approval. I'm not doing it for that. See, that's again, this is the biggest worry that I have is those of us that don't recognize what is ego, what is programming, and what is not real. You can just take those three aspects. There's a lot of screen programming that some of us have been infiltrated with. I believe I have, because I asked a group of remote viewers, I asked their leader, their the person that runs it, do a remote view on these two things that happened to me. One was at birth and one was a couple of years ago to do with interactions with extraterrestrials. And the remote view group, they don't know who I am. The person that runs it doesn't say this is Dani or even my initials. They get given a number, a random number, but the thought's gone in about who it is and what's happened and what they want you to look at. That is actual remote viewing. Anything else to me is reading. When people say, I remote viewed the Atlas 3i, no, you read it. You can't remote view it because the protocol for remote viewing is not the same. You don't know what you're reading in remote viewing. You're doing a regular reading, you're reading energy to energy, if you're just knowing what the object is and then you're going into its frequency. Anyway, so all these beautiful people wrote back with all their images and pictures and words, and there was little or nothing to do with the two experiences that I had. So, and it takes again a big, like load of courage to say, like, I'm now not sure if they were real events that happened. Was that part of programming? Because here's what I also believe. Every single one of us, especially those of us online, are in some kind of a program. And my friend JP from JP Missions, who's an army insider, speaks at every conference I ever do, is allowed by the military to speak out on certain things. He's given permission because there's higher ups in the military who want information to come out. because they don't want the deep state to win or the cabal or the Illuma bloody Nazi, whatever you want to call it. So information's coming out and it's all real, it's all true, and some of it's infiltrated. And so, and I was on with him on my channel a few weeks ago, and I'm like, mate, we're all in a program. He's like, Dani, everyone's in a program. But you tell certain people that they're like, oh, I'm not. I'm not. Are you sure, mate? Have you checked? Because, we need to check. This is the ego again. Like, get in it. Are you wrong about certain things? Yes or no? I don't know. Well, go and sit and go inside. Another huge thing, I think, Robert, that's a real danger, and I've said this for a long time, picking a side. Are you having a laugh, Auntie Mary? Oh, pick a side. Well, how do you know all the information on that side is correct? Let's take Trump as an example. It is when people get uncomfortable and they then unsubscribe or whatever, or they have a bit of a bee in their bonnet because now you're triggering feelings, emotions, and part of a belief system. You can look at Trump with a neutral mindset and you can see him being the most brilliant, children saving, white hat, awakening the world. You can see all of that playbook in that man. And also, with a neutral mind, you can see him literally bringing in the New World Order. You can look from one aspect at two different potential scenarios, and you can see both of those things. How could they both be right? And this is what people aren't asking. They're not asking how could both, because it's like the Republicans and Democrats in America, yeah? They're like, are you this or you that? But both sides have got something good here and something great there. And, so this is where we're at. The war is on the ground. We're in a spiritual war. Everyone's in some kind of a program. Everyone's under attack. There's no question. Everyone's story matters. Everyone's story matters. But the individual is having their own experience, their soul's having this experience. And this is where you got to come. You got to be here. You got to be present, present to awareness, present to the moment, watching where you're getting pulled, where you're getting sucked into. Whose fight are you fighting and why are you fighting? Yeah, I'm always saying, like, don't fall on the sword and don't die on the hill. I will never again defend any bint on the internet. You're on your own, mate. As I say to people now, I'm not defending you. I'm not defending this. I'm not defending that. I'm just speaking my mind and coming from experience, which hopefully is helpful somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think you have a really good point, Danny, about everything that you said, and I've tried to do that. I've tried to be like neutral and skeptical. I let people come on and tell their story, but I agree with you. I think we need to, let everybody kind of tell their story and let the cards fall where they are and then like sort out everything in between. And I think me and you are kind of similar in that way. We do similar things on our channels. I absolutely agree with you. And I see that with Trump too. I voted for Trump, and I think he can do good, but I also think there could be some others. I don't know. I try to look everything from a neutral perspective. Yeah. Like, I think that's really well said. Indy, did you want to follow up with anything or did you, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, well, the thing I was wondering is, I don't know Danny that much or that well, and I would like to also post this on my channel. And so it would be interesting to get a little bit of your background and your history in the community and where you're speaking from with some of these experiences. Um, because I did tune into your channel and I kind of watched, I think you had mentioned some things about the GF, and I was just curious. It almost felt like you were coming out of something and coming and stepping into like a new light or a new way of expressing yourself. And
Yeah, well,
so,
I mean, I've always been the same person. Let's not make that mistake. I've always been the same person, but my eyes have been open to very bad behaviors from people that say they support Galactic Federation of Worlds or whatever you want to call it. We got Galactic Federation of Worlds, Galactic Federation of Light, Galactic Federation of Aliens now, Confederation of this and that. But so what? Who cares? Call it what you want. It's not important anymore. What's important if someone's representing something, just behave yourself, and if you've got a gang of fans that that have been misbehaving, like Rob, you said, your channel got taken down. Well, there was a group of women, mostly women, who were defending their great leader, and what they do is they report on that person's. I've seen them do it. It's been going on for years. This same group of muppets who I thought were just lovely women, and they were defending all the right things and they were saying all the right things. But, they've been really malicious and are malicious. One of them was running my Telegram group. She just took him down. That's illegal, Tina. You can't do that, lovey. Get some help there. You can't do that to people. You can't try and infiltrate and create one story, govern. And how many more times are you going to save the world? How many times can one person save the bloody world? Do you know what I
Mm,
mean? How
mhm.
many past lives can we have where we claim to save the world? I find that disturbing.
Yeah.
I really do. And I just don't buy it. Also, who cares what someone's past life was? Why is that important? What are you doing now? That's what's important, what you're doing now. And so, and anyway, so a person that a lot of people know, this person's doing amazing work, amazing, incredible work. Just don't be such a witch and a victim in the 3D element. Do you know what I mean? It's like get yourself together, recognize what you're doing. You're forcing people to take sides and act in malicious manners, and people's channels like Rob, who works so hard for it, coming down all these stories about people. It's got to stop, right, Rob? It's enough now. I'm sick of the bollocks. People just, I'm very passionate and I'm very honest, and I recognize my errors, my mistakes, and I'm owning them. I'm atoning for them. I had some boy write to me the other day. He goes, "I'm waiting for my apology." I'm like, "Who are you? I don't know who you are." It's like, don't play with me like that, because I will stand up, I will speak out. But I love us. Humanity is beautiful. We have so many reasons why we came back. And we came back to take our world back. We came back to take this world away from the scummery and the ding-dongs that are trying to infiltrate and round it. And so the war is on the ground. Now it's all infiltrated. It's like when at my conference in Colorado in 2024, there was the most beautiful flyover of spacecraft. It was one of the best nights of my life. Always makes me emotional. It was so beautiful. I'm so forever grateful. Always grateful for that. But because since then of bad behaviors by certain big people, I'm like, did they come from off planet or did they come from Cheyenne Mountain? Because we've got underwater craft, we've got craft in military bases. We know it. It's old news now to most of us. So did those craft come from, let's say, Galactic Federation of Worlds off planet, which is a military base, but they are not gods. And this is another error, that we're not trained enough yet to
Yeah.
recognize that. Why are we so impressed? I'm not. And that's why I'm able to speak out. That's why I run my beautiful conferences. You can't impress me enough. You can't pay me enough, mate. Again, soul is not for sale. I don't care about fame or fortune or celebrity. I'm here to do my job and tell the truth. And so if I find out you're being a tricky witch, I'm going to say something and I'm going to remove you from my world. No matter what you do, no matter what you've done, I'm not impressed. I'm watching how you, as a leader, treat people. And if you're going to fall apart and be a victim every single time and cry your eyes out, you're in the wrong job, love. Pop along there. I'm bored. I mentioned a girl to you last night, Rob, Lara Starr. Can't wait
Yeah.
to interview her. My friend Beverly Rhodes, Secret Space Programs, her own connection. There's so many good people with beautiful information that have been overlooked. I say bring them all forward. Come on forward, guys, but don't lie. Because a lie cannot stand up. An energy cannot stand up. You can only go so far. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I think the more honest we are with each other and ourselves in particular, I think firing our guides, excuse me, firing our guides, having the confidence to sit down, breathe in, get inside, presence and awareness. There's my dad trying to phone me. Um, Presence and awareness, internal, and sit. And even if you have never really seen your guides, just imagine them, or your angels or whatever. Imagine them all around you, your aliens, your ETs, whatever. Your gods, your kings. Imagine around you. Imagine them standing in front of you and fire them one by one. Have the courage. And if you don't have the courage, then you are stuck in your ego because you don't trust yourself. You're frightened to step out because all you're going to do then is you're going to recalibrate your own energy frequency. Because if you've got entities plugged into you, most of us have, you've got them plugged in. You're not calibrating where you should be. If you've got courage to remove everything from your space, which is your right, and then sit and just let yourself resonate, those that are matching your frequency and are there for your support, because they work for us. We don't work for them. They're not supposed to be controlling us, but some guides do. If we sit, then they will return. We get attached. People say, "My guide is Baba G, and my guide is Jesus Christ." Lovely. Are you sure though? Are you sure? I spoke to Dean G Code. I love him the other day. He's been coming on my channel, and then but before we went to record, um, before we went to record, I said to Gene something about Archangel Michael, and he goes, "Oh," he goes, I'm not sure at the moment." I said, "But there's two of them. There's a false one and a light one, and we have to remember that there are things called mimics. Things mimic. Angels and demons mimic. Aliens and demons especially mimic. That's why, Indigo, to answer your question, I wrote my book. This is this is real life situations I've had from birth. Angels, demons, and aliens. I've had experiences since birth with these three species physically. And they're all different and they're all coming in on different layers of frequency. And to my absolute physical interactions, all these years, 50 years or so, the angelic frequencies have been the highest. The ETs, all of them, all the different ones, no, different level, different level. And the bloody demonics, well, they come in on a growl. They come in on a low decibel bass resonance. And some of them, depending on the level of darkness that they carry, different sounds, different smells, different tastes. So when I see people, mostly Christians, banging off about it, an alien is a demon. I'm like, you've either never met when you know what you're talking about, or you could have seen a mimic. You might have seen a mimic, somebody pretending. But in my understanding, they are very different. And that's how I see the world through my experiences, but someone else might see it different. It doesn't mean they're wrong. And that's the mistake a lot of us have made. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with you 100%. I think like this is the time where we all need to come together. And you had you told me that you had a really like inspiring message from James Rink. And I think
Yeah.
people took like James's death and like I think people should use it as an example for us to all come together. Like you said, no matter what our beliefs are or what we think at the end of the day, it's a time to share knowledge because I always say this, the people that control us are very organized, and they put these psyops and false flags into motion and they get our heads spinning 50 different ways but the right way. But like in our communities we can't seem to get along because people are like bickering about this and that. So I totally agree. I think this is the time where we need to come together and share knowledge and like everybody has a piece to the pie, I say, that's
It's
kind of
their
where I'm coming
greatest
from.
wish. The greatest mechanism in anyone being successful in disclosing truth is to get us all to fight each other. They don't need to do a thing. They're laughing at what idiots we all are. All of us that were fighting, all of us that are fighting. They're like, ha ha, look at those losers. What a bunch of losers we are if we can't come together in love and harmony and respect, all of us. And I speak from someone who's been, guilty of being unkind, unpleasant, and a bit gobby here and there because I chose to listen to a side. No more, Dan. I'm done and I'm clear. But I'm not a muppet either. If I don't believe someone, I'm not here to interview every single person, have them speak at my conference. I'm very, very strict with who speaks at my conferences. I believe I'm bringing the best speakers in the world together. That's my mission, is to bring the best people, and they're incredibly successful, life-changing, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Not going anywhere despite the efforts of the gang I told you about earlier. Oh, Jesus, sorry.
Can I speak to the gang earlier? And I'm wondering if, when it comes to these groups all coming together, how you said there's this division of the Federation and the conglomeration of worlds and the Federation of aliens and da 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 da. It's like you have these people that kind of band together, but then there's no universal covenant. There's no universal spiritual template in which everyone is kind of believing out of, you could say. So it's like you do have these mismatch of philosophy and core value systems. I think that kind of is maybe why it's hard for these groups to unify. And then again, of course, they're working with different ascended masters. But then I also think specifically with the Galactic Federation, I mean, there is such a documented history with them being aligned to what are considered fallen Ashtar command groups or Tothian groups. This going all the way back to the relocation of Stargate 10 and the Temple Mount, and these groups basically abandoning the law of one, and they've um, corrupted, I guess, the Melchizedek ascension technology that was connected to Giza. And so I think there is just such an ancient history of invasion. One of the things I've noticed with some of these groups is if they're affiliated with the GF, I immediately pick up on gray alien implants and technologies that are inserted into their holographic body that are, sending information to groups that then take that information and then find ways to attack those groups because they've infiltrated and they've actually collected information and data to intercept or to like take over hosts of certain groups and things like this and then take down entire communities. So, I
Mm.
mean, it's just that I almost feel like we have to denounce this philosophy of these types of organizations in the first place for us to even find common ground.
I mean, in the past, I would have been totally defending. I'm not doing that anymore. It's a waste of time. It's cost me health, financial losses, emotional upset, like public shaming, humiliation from that group that I mentioned earlier. So I don't not wasting my time defending anymore. I'm only going to speak from my own experience or my own thoughts. So it's always amazed me how you called it Stargate 10.
Mhm.
Which is that the Stargate over Giza or the Stargate over the Temple Mount in Jerusalem?
That would be like Azerbaijan, Iran, or like
Yeah,
that was like where you think it might have been relocated to. Like it's like and like Stargate, and then Stargate 11 would be where you're at. Like
mhm.
I
And they
think
say a lot of the infiltration happened at 11 and also 10, but I think there was relocation from the Temple Mount to Iran that the Galactic Federation was involved in that relocation.
Yeah. Which federation though? Because there's loads of them. There's loads of galactic federations. I go, the Galactic Federation of Light was one. I saw documentation, lots of it. So I think that that Galactic Federation of Light is a psyop because I saw with my eyes documentation, right? So that I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And, oh, the Galactic Federation of Light, I've never heard of the Galactic Federation of Worlds since 2021, like most of you hadn't either. So, I kind of went along because, I believe the person, of course. And I know that it's military, occupied military. And I've physically seen some of the ETs from that. So, but it doesn't mean that what I saw was real either. Because the night before I saw a Nordic, I saw three reptilians on my land. I used to live in Costa Rica outside, and there was this whole kind of
Mhm.
exchange of information and energy. And again, that's why I had them remote view it, because I'm like, I'm not a liar. I know what I saw, but was it real? Was it screen imprint? Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. We've all
I want to
got
say that's
something.
very interesting you say that because I had been getting information that Costa Rica was being taken over by like a group of Greys as well. Like there was a huge warfare over the land and that they were like invading Costa Rica for specific reasons. I don't know why, but they were
Well,
after the land for some reason there.
well,
I mean,
there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. I was just say like there's like we got issues with Venezuela right now with like that's like geopolitical, right? But then there's also Peru. There was like the face peeler aliens down in Peru, which was like interesting too. I don't know if that ties in. Like do you remember? You guys remember hearing about that? I think like Timothy Alberino went down to South
Mhm.
America and investigated that. He's like a Christian ufologist, but he actually went because like these natives were reporting seeing like this was in Peru. They were seeing like these aliens
oh
come
yeah,
on like
yeah.
hovercraft and like they were like literally like mutilating people. They were like
I
peeling
think
their faces off.
I honestly, what I'll tell you what that was. That was the military abusing third world people to trick them to make that whole scare. I honestly don't believe that was real ETs myself. Like that's what
Yeah,
I believe. That's not someone telling me or owning me to put information out. That's what I feel. Of course, I could be wrong. I mean, we've all got a 50-50 chance of being right on everything, don't we? But I think
yeah,
that was because they'll abuse the third world. They'll bring them, that's how they've done it. You go to Egypt, like let's say the Temple of Karnak, for example, and they'll get I shouldn't laugh, but it is quite funny. They get the pharaohs so messed up on all kinds of, hypnotic situations and put them into some kind of a trance. Or it was, the Oracle of Delphi, for example, sitting on those gases and then pulling information. Anyway, the king would stand over a certain grill. There'd be a monk standing underneath, beaming information up to him. Then the Pharaoh's all discombobulated on whatever happy drugs he's got. He might not even know he's taken them. There's so much manipulation, most of it human manipulation over millennia and millennia and millennia. We don't even know what timeline we're on or what actual time in this time period on this planet that we're in because everything's been infiltrated. Tataria is going to be one of the biggest conversations this year. I guarantee it. I put my name on it. I found the best. I should introduce him to you, Robert. His name's Guy Anderson. He's
He's
speaking.
coming on my show New Year's Day.
There you go. See, there
Yeah.
you go. And we all find each other. Guy Anderson, how did you find Guy?
Well, because I'm friends with Miles, and Miles told me. I mean, like, but I knew about his book, like, and like, I guess like he just sold. He said he sold 15. His book, guys, by the way, it's called Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids. It deals with Nikola Tesla, the Cabbage Patch orphan trains back in the day, which ties into the mud floods, which ties into the World's Fairs. It's like and Tataria. It's like a whole conspiracy with like five, but like, yeah, I got to look into it more, like I'm interested, but he's definitely coming on. Well, he's
Yeah,
supposed to come on New Year's
yeah,
Day, and he
perfect.
said he sold 15,000 copies of that book. Like
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah,
yeah,
he's brilliant. He's working with, same as me, working with David Icke and the Ike and Gareth and Jamie. Now, listen to this. This is where the triggers come up. So, people out there in what you guys call the community, they'll hear a story about someone, right? And then they'll go, oh my God, but I heard this over here. So they'll literally hang their hat and their life on they heard something negative about someone and then they shut down, right? So I was reading, I remember years ago, I was reading, I don't have it in front of me, I was reading David Icke's book, The Dream, because my friend George Lewis said, oh my God, Danny, read this, it's really good. So I started reading it, and I speak to a person who's very well known in the satanic abuse field. And God love her for everything she's gone through. I believe her. I believe her experiences are real. But then she told me that this certain person, David Icke, has done this terrible thing. Then remember thinking, oh my God, that's so bad. Wow, she wouldn't lie. Oh my God. So I put the book down. So I couldn't reconcile. I didn't have the information, and I was really caught up in this is what's happened with the other bin as well. I've got all caught up in yeah, but they wouldn't lie. Why would they lie? Anyway, it turns out this woman and other women in that whole kind of satanic, awful, poor things. I mean, seriously, not being patronizing at all. Those women have been through the unthinkable. So they all find each other. So someone said, let's remote view these people that have been accused of doing things. So they remote viewed. Yeah, yeah. And again, that's not remote viewing, that's reading. It's reading. It's a big difference. So basically, I then picked up David Icke again, picked him up again. I thought, you know what? I'm missing a whole massive information. And that man for 30 years has been abused and hollered at and ridiculed. And now he's just about the most important person on the planet. Ask anyone, who's David Icke? Most people know who David Icke is. Yeah. Ask about some of the others. Never heard of him. Thank God. Never heard of them. So no damage done there. But so he's coming forward and he's a massive voice for reason, and he's got everything to back it up. And again, we've got to be careful because like I heard this story and I decided to look over there. There's another story about someone else, and I also found out that's also not true. I'm like, oh my God, I've got to stop listening to people. Stop listening to horror stories and really try and figure out for yourself. Stop taking sides. That's a loser's game because both sides, as illustrated by my story on Trump earlier, it's the same bloody side. The psyops are on all of us. We're all in some kind of program. We're all being abused, manipulated, lied to on every imaginable level. So again, presence and awareness back in the body. It's an
yeah.
individual journey. And the thing is, when we're in this 3D, it's all about story. There's nothing but story happening here. This story, that story, my story, your story. It's when we go up, fourth and fifth, then we're not, in the same frequency. We're not even the same personality. We can go off planet, be in higher realms, be in our beautiful, natural, loving state. Yeah? Come back here, turn back into a witch because you haven't done your work. You haven't done your shadow work. You haven't cleaned out all that trauma from childhood. No one's getting away with that as far as I can see or believe. What do you think, Indigo?
Yeah, it's definitely it's a never-ending journey and process of coming back to the self, isn't it? It's a lot of hard work and dedication to having to stay conscious as much as you can in every moment and um, learn how to stay in your own lane. I think for me, in my journey and my participation in the community has been a lot of just trying to stay in my own lane.
What is that,
Uh,
my love? What do you mean by that? What is that? Is that to stay safe? Like, what
I
is
guess so, maybe in some ways. I do my best efforts to network with people, but I also find my comfort in just kind of doing my own research, delivering my own messages, not really watching or following anyone else for advice, just my own connection to source and, my guides and what I affiliate myself with on a spiritual level. And that's just kind of been my practice throughout the years. I've been on YouTube for about 8 years, and that's what I've always come back to. And every time I try to stretch myself, I start to get attacked. Every time I try to hold more people in my field, I bring in more of energy that just kind of deteriorates me. So for me to be my best self, I just kind of create this little bubble and, I allow people to come into my world. Um, but without the expense of, chopping off my own arm and leg and to be a part of something, to try to be popular or try to be cool. I just put that in God's hands and in God's will that whatever my process and participation and contribution to this,
yeah.
is what it will be. And
I think anyone who puts himself on the front line, let's say like I do, is an absolute nut job. You got to have tough skin, but I think as people mistake at times my assertion for aggression, and yet I'll cry at the drop of a hat. I hurt like everyone else. I'm really sensitive, but I'm so passionate for my brothers and my sisters, because this is my planet, your planet, our planet that I will do my all to bring and spread truth and bring beautiful people together and unite people together and mix and match missing information. I mean, every single conference I've ever done has been this beautiful symphony of information that's come together. The countless people that say, "Oh my God, it changed my life." Of course it did, because you found resonance. You had all these eclectic people with different information, and it's something resonated, something finally met and matched itself in frequency and energy and missing story, because of all the different levels, the story, the physical story, the healing that we're supposed to be doing here in this frequency. And also those of us that have been, dragged down, into second. I mean, we can all go down. That's where the lower astrals are. Some of the guides that we think we've had, they're mimics, they're demonics, they're lower entities, they're earthbounds. If you've got a problem with alcohol, you're in danger of attracting a lower astral entity. Again, why I wrote my book, to give all the information and the stories that people need to see themselves. And it's okay. We don't give ourselves permission to say, "Oh, fucked up there. Sorry about that." Heal, love myself, forgive myself, move along there. It's okay. We're so, as children, we're so brutally programmed for self-destruction, self-talk, self-hate. All of us. I don't know anyone that hasn't suffered. I've been a therapist for so many years. And for me, the key to healing, the key to freedom is healing that inner child. Because if something's happened to us at 3 years old or 1 years old or 6 years old, that element of that child, that piece of that soul, that frequency, that spiritual body can get what we call in therapy emotionally paralyzed. So you can stay jammed in that piece of your mind, of that soul as a 6 year old. And when that 6 year old gets triggered, say you're in you're 45 and your 6 year old gets triggered, you're not coming from the 45-year-old. You're coming from the 6 year old. You're making decisions from that traumatized part of you. And not everyone realizes that. It's like you look at these ding dongs around the world running our world. We've got a load of bloody 9-year-old traumatized boys making global decisions from unhealed places. That's why I've got zero respect for anyone. Any leader. I'm like, oh, be quiet. What do you think
Well,
you're
I was
doing?
gonna say, Danny, it's like one thing you and Indy can probably agree on is they definitely have demonized the divine feminine over time, and if you look at history, I guess like the world used to be run by a matriarchy, right? Like, and I can definitely respect that. I mean, did you guys, one of you guys want to touch on that a little bit?
Well, you only have to look at nature. I mean, nature is your beautiful viewing into how to synchronize a whole ecosystem, a biological system, a natural system, a food system. Like, where is the mass mentality? Who are the leaders? Who are the drivers? Where does the pack instinct come from in a survival experience? Comes from the feminine. The feminine births the entire universe. It's the females that give birth, and then but men are programmed like, oh, what about us? You can't do it without our sperm. No, we can't, my darlings. We need your sperm. Thank you very much. We've been programmed to all fight and attack, and it's so silly. It's a determined plan to turn man against woman, child against child. The feminine is the driver. But we don't get to balance anything without the masculine. We know that. It's like they want us to argue about it. We're not stupid. We know it. There has to be a natural balance. Sometimes I'm leading more with my assertive masculine side and I want to smack a bitch. Do you know what I mean? And other times I'm leading with my more gentle feminine side. And other times the two come together. I can't tell who I am. Or who's in this body at that moment. But you got to have a bit of a laugh about it because they're such big bloody subjects, aren't they? But yeah, what do you think of the divine masculine at the current time?
Well, I just want to say I do like your bubbly personality and just how you are channeling your masculine and feminine energies. I can definitely feel that, when you're speaking. Um, for me, I feel that that whole suppression of the divine feminine is the reason why the whole planet is warring in the first place. I think it goes back to Stargate 10 and it goes back to the original Stargate hijack. I think those were the original wars, the Wars of Eden. Robert was talking about a book that your friend wrote. I think the guy that you're interviewing about the
Paul Wallace.
yeah, Paul Walsh
Right.
about
Oh,
being kicked out
Paul.
of Eden, and so yeah, I think this is at the core of our history, and until we can acknowledge truly um, that war, that this is, underneath all of it. If you look at the Stargate 10 types and what they do on this planet and how they're controlling humanity and colonizing and the prey versus predator and the victim victimizer programs that are running, how everyone's under a program, like you said, it goes back to uh, how they're treating the feminine in those cultures and groups. I mean, the biggest oppressive acts against women in recorded history. So, yeah, I mean, the liberation of the feminine, this is definitely a prison planet for the divine feminine. And we don't really want to talk about those brutalities. Every time I've brought up the brutalities, there's some people that can handle those conversations and some people that probably want to shy away from it because it is just so at our core.
Yeah.
And yeah,
You know,
but that's where the healing needs to happen is in that feminine body.
It is. I mean, there's so many different ways to go there. It's so sad. I worked for a Jewish Orthodox family years ago. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, and while we're here, it actually would be good to kind of address a couple of things that have happened over the last 4 years. So I've openly said that as my first career was a nursery nurse, and I worked for aristocracy in England, and I had beautiful experience. So, and it's kind of come out, I was a royal nanny. I didn't work for the royal family who I couldn't give a shit about. I don't care about them. They're just people. Why do we even have them? There's so much focus and we got to look at that bloodline. But so I was in those circles as a nursery nurse. I worked for beautiful people, loving people. And so I'm not going to let that whole ridiculous, like, oh, so, but there are Muppets out there that hear a bit of a story, like I said about the David Icke one and the girl that said these terrible things, and then I believed it. But it came from one person And now it's a swarm of lies. You know what I mean? So I have openly said, oh, she was a royal nanny. Yes, I work for aristocratics. Yeah, well done. I told you that. You know what I mean? And then years and years ago, like in 2016, 2017, I had my company Kids Soul Speak. Wrote a book on divorce for parents to see, look, how much they mess their children up when they divorce and how we've really got to focus on our kids and here's how you can help them. And then I was working for, well, it was a voluntary organization called CAYS, Community Alliance for Youth Success, CAYS. And every single Friday, once a month, we would meet up, 100 of us or so, school teachers, therapists, headmasters, Stedman Graham, who apparently is Oprah Winfrey's partner. I've never seen them together. 4 years I was attached to that, raising money, doing speeches, all the rest of it. And the pure focus was changing the school curriculum because it's shit all over the world. It's terrible. Our children aren't learning anything useful,
Mhm.
and we know that. And so I left pictures of him and I up because I had great times with him. I didn't know anything about the satanic. I don't know these people. But I worked with him and I thought, I'm not going to be handled. And so I have no reason to take that down. I've never heard one bad thing about him. I used to, he'd phone me up, we'd have a chat. I loved him. He was a great guy. I don't know if there's anything dark there because Joy, I haven't listened, John, Billy, whatever your name is out there, just to say the people that, oh, she worked with Stephen Graham. Oh, that's satanic, because that then ridiculousness. It's still up on my Facebook. I'm not taking it down because I'm not for sale. You're not going to handle me. That was a nice part of my life where I was working for children in the school system to try and change the shitty curriculum. End of story. So just for reference, because I saw it the other day. Yeah, but you don't know about Dani Henderson. I'm like, oh my God, what is wrong with people? Why are we all turning each other against each other? Let's go to the basis of why we're actually here. But if you have got to call something out and it's serious, like some things that have happened recently, I think it's okay because there's so much upset. I haven't spoken about any of this at all. All happened 3 months ago, that upset and the decision not to continue on with a certain group of people because it's not healthy for my mind, my wallet, my reputation, or my life in any way. But good luck to them all. Good luck to them. I think there was another story too that was just so. Oh yeah, Oprah Winfrey runs my conferences. No, I've never met her ever. And I run my conferences. If I don't sell tickets for the beautiful speakers, there's no conference. It's very, very simple, my darlings. It really is. So I don't have a partner because I could never risk, nor will I, someone coming in financing, which would be lovely, but then saying, I want so and so to speak. No, Again, not for sale, not for sale,
Mhm.
not owned, not on a specific agenda. I've seen some bad behaviors. I've moved those people along, disinvited someone to speak. Just you take your mess over there. And again, whatever they're doing on or off planet, you can be lovely off planet. You're in a different realm, different cycle of personality. But when you're here, you're misbehaving, do some healing. Heal that inner child. Make a few public apologies because it is way past time
Mhm.
for that to happen. Now, as we're chatting, the minions, they're like screenshots and all texting each other. Oh my God, she said this. They're pathetic. You guys are so sad. And you have ruined people's careers like Robert, and you've had their channels taken down. Shame on all of you. Now, if we
Mhm.
could just wipe the decks and just stand up, remove the demonic attachments and all the dark attachments, fire the guides, everyone get together and just be loving.
Well,
Just
I got a question, Danny. Do you think they're gonna try to come after my channel again because we did this podcast? Like, I mean, like,
ask them directly. If anyone comes for your channel, you know where it's coming from, don't you?
yeah, yeah, I do know this time. Yeah.
You
Well,
know where it's
I
coming from.
I'll just be honest. I had one other disagreement at that time. It was with Dr. Kim McGeorge, who I like Dr. Kim. Me and her. I mean, I know people. I know she's, like, she's done some videos on. She does some controversial videos and stuff
I
like
don't
that. But
know who
like
that is. I've never heard of them.
her name's Dr. Kim McGeorge. I mean, we had a disagreement, so I didn't know if it was coming from her or if it was coming from them. But like, but like, here's what I'll just say about that. If they're watching right now, like, I never did anything to any of them to hurt them. Like, from what I understood, like, I thought that I interviewed Ishmael Perez, and like, I wasn't even agreeing with Ishmael Perez, and they came in the chat and like kind of attacked me, and like, I was like, I'm not gonna like fight with women, you know what I mean? Like, that would make me look bad, you know what I mean? But like, regardless, like, I mean, like, you know what I'm trying to say, like, and
Well,
like,
but
I don't think and I never had a problem with Elaine. I mean, like, I don't talk to her now ever. I don't talk to any of them, But like, what I'm saying is like, it wasn't even warranted for them to do that. Like, I don't. But then maybe there were some guests on my show that came on a couple other times that might have said something about someone or something like that, and maybe that's what triggered them or something. I don't know. I can't. I
Rob,
have,
can I say
but I
something
never
just
did
on your
anything
behalf?
personally.
I just want
Like,
to say,
yeah,
like, Rob, on your behalf, I just want to say, like, you interview the people that you want to interview. You don't discriminate on people. And I think that's what's so great about you is
Yeah.
like you just kind of give everybody a platform. You're not trying to tip into any of these like dramas. You're just genuinely like the Art Bell of our time. And you like to have an open platform. And I think it's great the way that you conduct yourself. And so I just want to say, don't question, what you've done or the guests that you've brought on and the people you've supported. Everybody has like their own battle that they're kind of fighting behind the scenes when in their connections that they have, but I don't think that implicates you in any of that drama.
yeah,
So,
that's a good point. Yeah,
yeah.
thanks. That means a lot. Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, you can only, you're never gonna make everybody happy. I'm sure that happens with you too, Danny, right?
Oh
Like, I
my
mean,
God. Listen, all I have to do is walk into a room. Okay. I don't even have to say a word, and I'm pissing people off. I rattle people's demons. That's what I do. You know what I mean? And it's okay. Not everyone likes us. It doesn't matter. But the malicious behaviors I've seen from a group who are, I think, trying to be elite, I think
Mm.
like love, all that princess bollocks, none of us care about it. It doesn't work in this timeline. No one cares about being a princess or a queen or this or that or and past lives and well you died, you're alive now, so be a good human and get your shit together, you know what I mean? But yeah, that malicious behavior of like cancel reporting the thing and then attacking and then what else do they do? And it's the same group of women over and over and over and over again. They're all trolling, and they think they're so righteous, self-righteous too, and you can be blind to it. I was, oh, this person's a grain, this person's a reptilian, and this person's. So you're either a drunk, a drug addict. I forget which one I am at the moment. Don't have a glass of wine. Oh no. And it's just like it's so ludicrous and it's so low vibration. It's just so low level, low astral. And hopefully they'll get their shit together and they'll start being nice and they'll look at their own healing and they won't steal people's telegram groups and trash people's channels and it's only really I'd say four women in that group who are really need a good sit down talk to, and that's the leader and three others. I mean, it's like enough now, you're just embarrassing yourselves. But you see, the thing is, people then go, oh, Danny's speaking out about the Galactic Federation. No, I questioned a couple of stories because of bad behavior from a messenger. I'm like, do you know what? I don't know if I believe that story now. I am allowed to say that. It doesn't mean I'm against the Galactic Federation. They've done incredible things to help us, but people decide that's what they're going to take away. They're going to take that away. I had somebody write me a whole chapter today, reaming me a new one and being very aggressive. And how dare you attack the Galactic Federation? I'm like, you know, people don't listen. They listen to gossip. They'll watch a little bit of a clip, but they don't think because they're owned, they're in a program, and they don't have the wherewithal to be present and be aware in this moment. And try and remember that the cabal, whatever you want to call them, are deliberately manipulating every single one of us to fight, not just with ourselves, but with each other. So I applaud the Galactic Federation of whatever, because I don't know what the true name is. I truly don't. And they have helped us, they have intervened, they are there for a very good reason. But it doesn't mean that every single soul on board is good. And that is what I'm saying too. All right. And it's okay. They're humans, they're not gods. The Anunnaki weren't gods either. They were people. I don't worship them either, any of them. I ain't calling some bloke from the distant past father. Very worried about that. Not playing. It's okay to say. We're allowed to say it. It's just ridiculous, right?
Could you give us some insight, since you have kind of been close to some of these people that are trying to achieve this elite leadership status?
Mhm.
How do you think as humans, like as we, and this is something me and Rob talked about earlier, is like as you grow in your exposure, as you grow in popularity, as you grow in your community, how do you continue to stay humble and continue to be a good leader?
You got to have people around you that aren't kissing your ass. I mean, that's got to be the most basic baseline. If you're surrounded by yes girls, which the person is, because they're terrified to be cast out into the wilderness, what will life look like? That's like I say, that's the same as like firing your guides. Fire your guides. Remove that emotional frequency from your being because you're all plugging into each other. You're all plugging into something. What is that thing? Get clear. So there shouldn't be an elite indigo. There shouldn't be one person at all claiming hierarchy above anybody else.
Yeah,
That person needs a fucking smack. Sit down, dollface. What are you doing? What are you doing? That hierarchical following one person, it doesn't work anymore. Not one God, not one leader, not one teacher, not one savior. It doesn't work. That oneness doesn't work. It's like these people that were always looking at, Trump. He's our savior. He's not. He's an overweight man in a job. He's not God. I hope he's doing the right thing. But depending on what lens you're looking through, he's either bringing in the New World Order or he's really working for the benevolence. And you can see both of those aspects. Okay? But people just go, oh, that's why awareness and presence pull back. Just sit and calm yourself down. And it's okay to have these conversations and have these thoughts and not worry about a tornado coming through the garden to kill me, or more death threats. I mean, goodness me, who goes around threatening to kill people and cut them off?
that's
And
crazy. That's
it's
insane. That's
insanity.
like
They're the
that's when
insane
people take it to like levels that they shouldn't be. Like
ones.
that's
Exactly.
that's really like scary stuff.
Hear it, or they want you to vanish, or they are trashing your conference, or these are those same people that have been trying to put the elite. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm not playing. I'm not playing with that dark, behavior. Cut it out. Sit down, sort yourself out. But if people go, oh, Danny said this about so and so. I'm talking about behavior overall. It isn't just about a particular individual, but we can look at people in certain arenas that we all view into and have played with and recognize that these behaviors, I say the same thing about them, like knock it off. Enough now. I'd like to see some public apologies. I really would. I've made a few and
Yeah,
private ones as well. I think it's time. And you can still get it wrong. I could still get it wrong. The next three people on my channel, they could all be, I don't know. I don't know. So Indigo, let me ask you a question. So I've never met you before, but it's lovely to meet you. We were told that the Greys and the reptilians were removed. I deeply, deeply have believed this. I have absolutely believed it, but I might be wrong. So what is your intel on, and how do you know it's true? Whatever you believe, how do you know it's true?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I don't believe that narrative at all.
Mhm.
Just to be like completely blunt.
Yeah,
What
be
I
blunt.
have seen is that the Stargate wars have continued on this earth. We're currently in the middle of those battles. Every war that we see occurring from the Middle East, from Gaza and Israel to Ukraine and Russia to now the US and Venezuela, that these are all hybrid human
reptilian.
wars, reptilian wars. The Greys are heavily involved, the Dracos are heavily involved, in what is occurring in Venezuela. Certain factions of the Draco legions are setting up encampments, along the coast of Venezuela. And so it's just like, there it's more of the unseen, realm, the 1D Earth, the 2D Earth, the 3D Earth. A lot of the reptilians still do come up through tunnels. I do believe that that's even what the war in Gaza was about, was like those underground tunnels. Like these are reptilian underground bases. Many of these are hybridized humans and factions and offshoots of Stargate 10. It's still the same war. It's still the same fallen Nephilim war and the relocation of Stargates. And I think that's what's still occurring,
Mm-mm.
um, and what's
So
playing out.
thank you for that, because I don't know. And here's another thing, okay? I never claim to know everything. And I admit, or I say, I don't know. So because of behaviors I've seen that are distasteful, I now don't know. People are there, oh, you're trying to trash her work. No, I'm not. It's not about a single person. This is what people have to also get their head around. If we're going to put everything on one person, this is the whole bloody planet. This is our solar system. We're in a matrix. The solar system is part of the matrix. What does that also mean? It means that the ETs are also part of the matrix. And why aren't we
Yeah.
having those conversations? Why aren't we realizing that? That's why they cannot be the gods. They are not the gods. And you're saying that you think the Greys, the reptilians are still here, and you give some context to that. Okay. In the past, I would have said to you, no, because I was told over and over and over and over again that they're gone, but I don't know if they have. And so I'm
Can I back
reminding,
that up?
yes,
Jenny,
go ahead.
well, I mean, there's a couple there, if you like James Bartley, for example, I think he's one of the best ufologists. Like, he still thinks the reptilians are heavily evolved in like alien abductions and MyLabs, and like he still has people who say they're getting abducted by Greys. Like, Eve Lorgan's another person who believes that the reptilians and aliens are definitely still heavily involved. I mean, there's a lot of researchers out there that like really truly believe that they're that
Yeah.
and they have different points of view. They don't all come to the same, like there's a lot of people, it's because I think one thing everybody can agree on is that like our world isn't changing. Like whatever aliens are in charge
Yeah.
here, they're not doing a good job because like everything's still fucked up. So like to me, just thinking that, it makes me think, well, obviously the reptilians are still here because like this world's a shithole. You know what I mean? And like, like so many people like come on my channel or not come on my channel, but like they'll message me and they'll be like, I don't want to reincarnate here again. I don't want to incarnate here again. I don't want to have to come back here. Like, how do I get out of here? Is there a soul trap? Like, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure completely, but like, it seems like it because like, I mean, this place is insane, like, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I mean, but like, that's kind of just like my lens of it. It just seems like I'm just looking at it from like the decibels of insanity of like what the world is here,
Mhm.
and it seems like it's like very heavily reptilian energy. I don't
mm.
know.
And a
I,
lot of for me too, it's been about research. Like when you just even look at things from a grid work level, like the grid, and you look at where ley lines connect and where certain facilities, like if you look at like SpaceX and Elon Musk and the elite technocratic oligarchy, they are, pushing agendas that are definitely not good for angelic humanity. I mean, the Golden Dome, like, I mean, we're under this radiation, the satellite radiation, all of that is powered from Stargate energy.
mm,
And
mm,
they're building this massive, AI infrastructure down in Texas. And SpaceX is basically a Men in Black. I mean, Martians coming on and off the planet. And Carrie Cassidy spoke about them actually taking people off planet and this being like cloning and abduction. And I mean, and if you look at what they're doing, like the rockets and all of these test landings and things like this, like they're opening up space-time portals, you know, through the astral and, in the ground. Uh,
I would say Carrie and Jean definitely probably both think that the alien presence is still here on Earth as well. Like they definitely, I know Carrie thought that the Three Eye Atlas was like Anunnaki or reptilian, and then so I think they think as well, just like as some more researchers that like share this sentiment and yeah, I wanted to tell you this, Danny, real quick. We have a mutual friend. Her name's Selena. She's a really good friend of my channel, Selena Ingalls, and she just
oh
wanted to
yeah,
see.
no.
She wanted to say it's so good to see Danny on here after so long, and she said,
Ah,
yeah,
hi Selena. She's so sweet. She's always
Yeah,
very
a
sweet.
lot of
Yeah.
good people in the chat today. A lot of people are liking this chat. So
Good, good. It's nice. You know, I want to talk about you said about Elon. There's so much we should cover. You said about Elon Musk, and you know, we were encouraged in this kind of group thinking, let's say, that I used to be attached to. That you know, this is a very good person, and this is a good person. I'm like, I'm not for implants. Implants can be taken over, chips, brain chips. So all this Elon Musk, all this, if someone's, you know, been brutalized at war and their spine is broken, of course there's a place for helping people, you know, whether it's kind of more bionic action, AI to help them live a good life, of course, but you just can't trust, you know, the brains behind it when you know that this whole planet has been weaponized from your 5G, 6, 7G towers, you know, to your planned Agenda 30, the WEF. I mean, the WEF is the single point god of, let's say, the Muppet that runs England, where I'm currently living. Keir Starmer's boss is Tony Blair. Tony Blair's trying to bring in a singular, he used to be a president too, pretty boy. He's trying to bring in a religion. Anyway, his boss is Klaus Schwab, you know, those tosspots. You know, they are the most ridiculous bunch of Muppets. Someone should have given them a good fucking beating, honestly. And I don't just mean when they were children. And
Mm.
we got to recognize too that the global leaders, most of them currently now have gone through what was called the Young Leaders Program, and it was commissioned by the World Economic Forum. We got to start looking on the ground instead of keeping on looking at the aliens and what's going on and who's in this space program. It's all important, but I'm saying that we're all getting distracted. We got to come. The war is on the ground, guys. So let's
yeah.
sort it out there.
Well,
So
you know,
implant.
I was just saying another thing that you like. You mentioned the 5 and 60. The weaponized weather was a big one. Remember last year, we were all kind of doing our own thing, but like that those hurricanes hit the United States really bad, and those seem to be like definitely like weaponized weather.
Of course they are.
And they did it in Hawaii, and they did it, they seemed to like, and everywhere that seemed like they hit with that weaponized weather, it was like a 15-minute city was being set up. You know?
Absolutely. And you can basically predict where they're going to do it, how it's going to happen. And it's like the things I talk about, the way I'm going, the people I gather, David Icke, Kathy O'Brien, Tony Rodriguez, Max Lowen, JP, Billy Carson, Praveen Mohan, Guy Anderson, Nikki Allen, and other people like that. So we had a mini tornado in my town, right? And guess whose garden fence blew down? My mum and dad, an elderly couple. You know, it's like, oh, well done. You know, no one else in the entire neighborhood but my mum and dad. You know, all my tires are down. All my tires were down. It's like, we know where you live. I'm like, oh, well done. Well done. You know, sorry, wrong bitch. You know, we got to stand up, be strong, not bring pain to us, but have the courage to have these conversations. And to everyone that's trying to be some kind of a name or a leader in the field of disclosure, to just to chill out and unite. We are so much stronger together. Obviously, we are. We don't have to agree with everything. We don't all have to, you know, it's like the Greys and the reptilians. I truly believe that the satanics have lost their plug-in to what was there before. But the satanic personnel, you know, some of them are reptoid hybrids. We know that too. So that part hasn't gone away. That's still there. But now they're all turning on each other. I do believe that whole infrastructure is crumbling and being dismantled. I do believe that. I've said that many, many times. I just don't know how much of the overall massive statements that have been made by a particular individual are true. And if they're not, then they're misleading. And so we've got to just come together and share our theories and our thoughts, how to keep each other safe, what we should be focusing on, you know. And at the end of the day, again, the individual frequency of raising up, like you got to look at someone like Kathy O'Brien. You know, she survived being abused in the White House by Dick Cheney. He's a murdering rapist. He's dead now. The old boy, the old fart, Bush. And you know, people are getting triggered. That's okay. I do that on purpose sometimes. because we got to get past this. We got to learn to be neutral, learn not to get triggered, and focus on facts. And when your friend, she's my dear friend, Kathy O'Brien, tells me directly that these men have done these terrible things to her and some to her little girl, I'm going to believe her. I'm not going
Yeah.
to respect a single leader. These men have been going around our planet, carving up our planet. So, Dick Cheney, you can have that. You can have Venezuela and Panama. You can have Costa Rica. This is what they've been doing for decades. But before the decades, before this generation, this kind of 100 years, for thousands of years. It's an old game, but we, me, you, and everybody watching, we came here to end it. So we need to get our shit together and align and stop fighting.
I agree. Wow, yeah, I agree. And that, people were saying in the chat that they're glad that we did this show together, because I think this was, and I just want to say, I think you're really courageous, Danny, for like, coming out of like, like whatever happened, you know what I mean? Like you're really standing on your own and you're like, and I just wanted to back you up on the Kathy O'Brien. I've interviewed Kathy once, like, and she was amazing, like we did a group podcast with her, like, and
Wow.
yeah, she's the real deal. She's definitely like yeah. I don't know her as well as you, but I mean, I can definitely vouch. That she's like the real deal. Yeah, like
Yeah.
but
She's
no, you're absolutely right too. Like you're absolutely right about like everything. Yeah. And I was saying, Indy, do you have any final thoughts? I was going to say maybe we could finish up now. We've been going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to say with Danny, I think one of her significant points was that it's important that, to recap, it's important that each person kind of evaluates every individual for themselves. Like, don't believe what other people have said about people. Like, like we really can't do that. We shouldn't be doing that. Um, I know for me, like some books I've read, you know, um, people tarnish the authors and try to get you to not read those books. And then you go and read those books and you're like, wow, like I can form my own opinion about this literature. I don't have to go
Yeah,
off what all these people are saying about things. It's the same with
totally.
all our connections. So I really
Everyone
like
should
that
read this.
message.
Yeah, everyone should read this. And that somebody said to me, no, it's not true. Atlantis didn't do terrible experiments. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And they're doing it again. You've only got to look at LA. I mean, there's so many terrible things. This was an eye-opener. The Only Planet of Toys. Have you guys read this book?
No, who's that? Phyllis
It's
Schlemmer.
Phyllis
Oh, I don't.
Schlemmer. So she channels the nine. Okay. And the group collective is known as Tom. So this is some of the first information that we've had like in the last 50 years. So that came out in the 90s and I read it when it came out and I was so blown away by it. I sent the book to Steven Spielberg and I said, you need to make this into a film. I don't know if he ever got it. I've got no idea. But if we mention Spielberg today, we're all like, "Ooh, we've heard all these things," and I don't know if they're true. I don't know him, and I'm not getting involved in that. But back in the day, he just made E.T. or in the last 10 years or so, and so I thought he was a good person. And then someone was like, "The Atlantis wasn't. We didn't do experiments." Yes, we did. End of story. And so we got to take back some of the proof and truth that we know exists, filter it through this system, see what resonates, see what doesn't, see where we're triggered, see where we're, at a nice level of frequency and just keep moving forward. Share the work, share the information, share the people. You should see the people on my channel. I'm having the whale of a time. I'm bringing all these wonderful people that I never spoke to before. Gene Decode, Kerry Cassidy, because I was told they were bad people. Now I'm not listening. I'm like, la 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 la.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Not for sale,
Wow.
not for sale. So,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
again, to those out there, I'm sure I'm going to get loads and loads of mail and stuff. And I'm not picking on an individual. I'm not hating on the Galactic Federation. I'm saying that we need to question everything and it's okay and we're allowed. And if you're too weak-minded to give yourself permission to do that, well, I'm sorry for you. And I wish you well. I wish you love and protection. I do. And those that are in a gang, knock it off because you'll get dumped in a heartbeat and they'll never look back at you again. So just be careful out there. Just be loving, just be kind. And love to everybody watching. All right.
Yeah.
Can I make a little observation? It's interesting how you were kind of told that Gene and Carrie are, bad people or, stay away from those people or whatever. It's funny, what they have in common is Gene Decode is a very devout researcher, and he's read, all of Asha and Adine's work essentially, and also Carrie Cassidy as well. She also very much vouches for that work and has read all
Yeah.
of her work. And, I find what I think the division is that they're just coming from a different fundamental set of values because I think they kind of reference that work as like the core of a lot of their galactic intel. And then I
Mhm.
find that these other groups that they're combating that. And I think that honestly is because a lot of that work that Carrie Cassidy and Gene Decode are vouching for through Ashana Dean's literature is the foundation of this other stuff that they're denying that, if that makes
Yeah.
Yeah,
sense.
that does
Yeah,
make
that's
They're-
sense.
yeah, that's interesting. I will say though, I never read Ashiana's work. I saw some videos of her, but the one thing that did make me laugh, and today I just can't, and it's okay to say it, I can't get my head around this. I don't believe it. The Daisy of Death, that just seems so ridiculous to me. As an opposition to the tree at the flower of life. I'm like, the flower of life is a real thing. These are high dimensional bubbles. This is the structure, the infrastructure of a universe. The daisy of death seemed to me like a bit of a makey up, and I still feel that, and that's okay. I'm allowed to say that. If someone believes a daisy of death, you go do you, my love.
What is
You
the
know, but
Daisy of Death? What is it? What is it? What
it's
is that?
part of that Ashiana. Well, actually, I had people come on my channel and do that once. I won't say their names. I just send them love. I do. And then after I thought, oh, that's just so like, oh. And then loads of other people said, oh, that's terrible. And take it down. I just took it down in the end. I'm like, no, I just can't buy into it. But yeah, I think there's been a division of like, no, don't look at that work because that came before my work. Here's my work, and my work's going to dominate. And you can't
yeah.
do that. You got to be open to all of
Yeah.
it, all of
I
it.
I think there's multiple controversial pieces in Ashana's work. The Metatronic, the whole Metatronic thing is definitely very confusing. And then also, um, but the more I research that, I really think it's just the difference between infinite energy structures and finite energy structures. Like the Daisy of Death, I think is just representing like the rigid geometries, and the Christic spiral flower of life, like that is just representing open and flowing energy systems. So I think people like maybe there's like, we could do a deep dive on that and like clarify
Yeah.
things
Well,
probably
you see,
sometime.
but see the fundamental. So you just said about the spiral, right? So you could be on about like Fibonacci sequence, for example, whereas I look at the flower of life as a multi-dimensional, 3D and above kind of living organism. You know what I mean? Where a universe can come from. And we could both be right, we could both be wrong. But here's what happens: the ego gets peaked, and then nobody wants to be wrong. Apart from you and I right now, because I don't care if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I want to learn. Am I wrong? I'll
Yeah.
accept it. Show me how. Show me how. And it's okay. But then we go, oh no, they believe in this, and so we believe in that. And then that's taking sides again. That's
Yeah.
that's
It's
being
also trying to control
separated.
people. Yeah, it's trying to
Totally.
control people. Yeah.
That's the bottom line. Total
Yeah.
control. Total
Yeah.
control. And it doesn't work. We evolved this planet by unifying, by all deciding, by not having a president, by having a council of people with everyone's heart and mind in mind. The children, the elders, how do we take care of them? We come together in these beautiful concentric, like the Atlantean
Mhm.
temples that we see, the circles. There's so many different ways that we can bring in now on our world, and it's us that's going to do it. It's everybody watching. Don't be looking up to leaders because they've all fucked up. They need to step down. It's our job to step forward with our ideas and our beautiful energy together and our frequencies and saying, right, I'm good at this, you're good at that. But the focus has to be the all, everybody. No more kings and queens and gods.
Yeah. Well, this was amazing. I kind of got an My friend just called me. I got an emergency, but do you guys want to tell everybody where they can find you? Indy, do you want to go first, and then Danny could go, and then we'll yeah. And thank you guys for doing this. This was amazing. This was
Thank
Yeah.
you, Rob.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
man.
you, Robin. Maybe you could tell everyone how to donate to your channel as well.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah,
it's at Typical Skeptic PayPal.
yeah. Typical skeptic media. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think you work so hard, so everyone should definitely send Rob a donation. And just thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Danny, for allowing me to join this with
Thank
you. It was
you.
such
Nice
a
to meet
pleasure
you.
meeting you.
You too.
And you guys can find me at indigoangel222.com, or you can find me on YouTube at Indigo Angel.
Yeah, this was really amazing. And Danny, thank you so much for taking your time and coming on. Do you want to tell people where they can find you? And yeah,
Yeah, yeah, sure. Hi guys. So go to my channel, Dani Henderson. You can see here the name at the bottom of the channel there. It tells you my name there. And GISIC is Galactic Spiritual Informers. That's my beautiful conference. That's a beautiful group of people gathering to share their work. The David Icke, Billy Carson, who else? Tony Wood-Riggs, Max Lowen, JP, me, Praveen Mohan, Guy Anderson, like really beautiful global speakers. And we're all gathering in England in September. But come to my channel too and look at some of the beautiful guests I have. And thank you, Rob, for all the work you do. And thank you, Indigo. And love to everyone out there. God
yeah,
bless.
yeah, this was amazing. Thank you guys so much. And
Thank
I'd love to
you.
do this again. I think we really needed to do this. And yeah, I'm really happy with the way this turned out. And thank you, everybody. And I'll see you guys tonight. I'll be interviewing Paul Wallace tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Nice.